Facebook, YouTube. We at it again. I stand at LLC. We're here to have a real discussion today. I got a very wise guest with me, someone who I consider to be a specialist in her craft, in her day-to-day field of expertise. Discussion around bullying, is very sensitive. A lot of people are being impacted by bullies, whether you're a parent, whether you're an uncle, auntie, a cousin. We've all had some sort of experience with bullying, whether it was someone close to us or someone that we know. And it's really running rapid in our school system. And so we're here today on this platform, I Stand at LLC, to have the during conversation, like my mentor would say, have the during conversation. So again, I'm Coach Jay, CEO of I Stand at LLC. I'm gonna have Ms. Johnson to introduce herself and share all of her credentials, because if you've seen the link for the video, she got a whole Wikipedia behind her name. So I'm gonna let her introduce herself and all of her credentials. And I'm gonna tell you, once she finishes introducing herself, I'm gonna tell you how I know her. We're gonna say that for after she introduces herself. Go ahead, Ms. Johnson.
Well, I'm Monique Johnson, and I am a licensed professional counselor. I own my own private practice here in Birmingham, also in Montgomery. I'm specialized in play therapy. I specialize in cognitive behavior therapy, anger management, a lot of stuff. So I'm just in the business of changing the world one family at a time. That's my motto. I live by that. That's why I teach my staff. That's why I teach my supervisees that anybody that comes in contact with me or you are in the field of counseling, we're in the business of helping. So that's my life's mission, and that's all that matters at this point. If I can help somebody or touch somebody in the smallest way, I'm good with that.
That's dope. I love it. Changing one person's life at a time and families one at a time. That's dope. That's all we can do to give back and to help people. One life at a time, and hopefully that person you change can go out there and impact somebody else. And if we can do that, we can create a domino effect in our community. But anyway, we're gonna jump into this conversation. But let me tell you how I know Monique. Me and Monique went to high school together. A little small town in rural Alabama. We went to high school together. We had some amazing years. We would say class of 99 was probably the best class to come out of high school.
Yes.
Other people would hate on that, but it's what the truth is. It's what the truth is. So big shout out to her for doing big things as a classmate. We got so many classmates that went into this field, the social service industry. Mm-hmm. It seems like so we got a class full of big-hearted people. So let's have a conversation. I'm gonna start with just a regular question, right? Okay. And I wrote some things down. Okay. We're just gonna feed off of that. So my question to you is, how do we define bullying? And then after we define it, whoever defines it, how do we attach that to an individual to then label them as a bully? How does that work in your mind?
Okay, so I think that bullying has been going around for a while, and when it became a big topic of conversation, it got misused, and so then we've lost. It's kind of got watered down. Now everything is considered bullying. If you tell me you don't like my shirt or I'm being bullied, that's not what being bullied is. Being bullied is when somebody seeks to harm you. They are intentional and consistent with intimidating you and doing things to coerce you into doing things that you don't particularly want to do. And so what we have to do is kind of, reel that back and say, okay, is this really bullying? And let's address it. And so, I think Alabama, the world tried to come up with a way to deal with bullying once they saw kids committing suicide. Uh-huh. But again, it was a big topic at one point, and now it just kind of is died down a little bit, but it's very much still really relevant and it's still happening. And kids who are being bullied, those kids are very distinctive kids. Like, for the most part, they won't come to you. A bystander will see what's happening because they'll try to internalize it and deal with it because they're actually afraid of what's the consequences from the person that's being bullied, that's bullying them.
Right.
So it looks different when somebody who's really being bullied versus somebody who just don't have social skills. And what we call it growing up was, they call it capping or janking.
Right.
That's different from being
Right.
bullied. Like, if you can't hold your own, then don't get into those conversations.
Gotcha.
Being bullied, you just can't hold your own.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I was doing some research, and they talked about, and I found it interesting. They talked about like three categories of bullying: verbal, social, and physical. And like you said, a lot of things that children go through, could we filter some of that over into like age appropriate norms versus like harmful behavior? Like what is the way to be able to separate that and say, okay, talk to my child and say, baby, it sounds like what you're explaining to me is this versus that? Or do we just look at it and say, my baby came home and they were traumatized, they felt harmed, they felt victimized, and we just say, okay, you're being bullied.
Right.
So, how would you say a parent should deal with something like that?
I would, ask my kid, because I've had my daughter come to me and she felt like she was being bullied. And I asked her a series of questions like, does this happen every day? Is somebody aware of what is happening? What is this person trying to get you to do? What is this person saying to you? And when she started answering those questions, I had to be like, oh, no, baby, you're not being bullied. She's just mad because you have something that she doesn't have. And I said, she's really trying to be your friend, because it wasn't an everyday thing. The girl wasn't physically touching her. She just made a comment about her hair one day, and then she felt like she was being bullied. I'm like, no, that's not being bullied, Mackenzie. She didn't like your hair that particular Tuesday. So the question as a parent that I ask my children, I ask for the frequency. I ask about what is being said, and I'm asking about how intense is it. Now, even if somebody says something about, her hair, she has every right to feel upset or feel any type of way. And I support them having feelings, but we have got to define if you're being bullied or somebody just said something that you didn't like. So those are the questions that I ask my daughter.
I like that. So it sounds like to me that you're equipping your daughter with certain tools to be able to respond to situations in school. So you mentioned asking her about frequency. And then you said, well, baby, it sounds like someone was just asking about your hair that one day. So how important is it for young people to and even professionals to respond to the bully? And because a lot of times it seems like all the school is doing is talking about the bully, but they're not equipping the students to respond to bullies and understand the bully. So what would you say to that? What would you say to that?
You know what, Josh? That's tough, because I teach my kids something a little different, like I was taught. So, me and my kids, we be in the car and we be rehearsing stuff. Like, if somebody say something to you, what's going to be your comeback? Okay. Like, so I'm teaching them how to come back with stuff, because I know what happens with bullies. If they see that they can intimidate you, or they see they can move your emotions, then they're like, okay, this is a weak kid. So now I'm going to keep with this every day, because now I know I can make her cry. I can make her give her my food or whatever. But as soon as somebody stand up to that person, then that diminishes the power that they have over them. So they move on to the next person.
Hold up, time out. Listen, you just dropping these nuggets. I got to stop right there. So so it sounds like to me you talking about coaching. You're talking about role play, rehearsal, to say, listen, if somebody responds to you like this, you respond like this. This will get you a certain outcome versus this outcome. So that's letting me know that it's possible that the bullies bully for a certain reason, it sounds like.
Right. They're trying to get a response from you. Bullying is only effective if I can get you to respond a certain way. If I can't draw you into me and get you to do what I need you to do or feel how I want you to feel, then it's ineffective. So that's the whole purpose, is to get you to draw into them. And if you don't do that, then they have to move on to the next person.
Wow. That's amazing right there. So I think, because I'm always concerned about the school, right? Because labeling the bully, punishing the bully, putting the bully out of school, having that zero tolerance is not the most effective thing, because I feel like there are more students who don't bully than the isolated bullies. And if we give them tools to respond to the bully, then I think we can get a different outcome. And you mentioned earlier a bystander. What tool would you put in your daughter's bag if she had a friend that was being bullied and she was a bystander? How would you coach her to deal with that?
And so this is something I talk about my kids too. I said, if you see somebody being bullied, after we identify what being bullied is, and you talk to your friend, you need to go to the teacher and let the teacher know this is what you're observing, and this person's afraid to talk. And so at that point, then it's up to the teacher to connect the dots. But one thing that teachers do in the school system, they'll tell kids not to defend themselves. Just go tell the teacher. But when you go to a teacher who's focused on classroom management, how to get 25 kids to sit down, they're not worried about what little Billy doing with little Johnny over here. They just want you to sit down so they can get on with the lesson. So then it's like, why tell the teacher? She's not going to do nothing. So now I got to deal with this on my own. So then you just draw into yourself. And then that's when the bullying continues, because now you don't have the support.
Right. And see, that's the thing I fear the most, because just like you said, I've talked to a lot of people who say, listen, my son told the teacher, my son told the principal, we went up to the school as parents, and the bully didn't stop. It continued. So I feel like if we can equip the students with the right tools, just as well as working with those who bully, I think we can get a broader outcome in the schools. And my next question to you is, do you feel like bullying is age restricted?
No, there are adult bullies too. There are adult bullies too. There are grown-ups who come into situations seeing how they can control and manipulate people. So, and that's something they ain't just started doing. They've been doing it since they were younger, and they just took it on to adulthood because nobody told them this was inappropriate. And sometimes I don't even think that they understand what they're doing because it has become normal for them. Right. And so everybody's just like, oh, that's just how Danny is. You know, that's just how he is. That don't make it okay. But now he's gone through his childhood all the way up to his adulthood doing the same thing because we have just said, oh, that's just how he is.
Right.
So, no, bullying is not age restricted. There are some grown bullies out here.
Yeah, and I think that's what parents, you know, that's one note I took down is like, you know, sometimes as parents, when we got, you know, babies like 2, 3, certain things we think are cute, you know, you know, I think we have to be careful with that and begin early intervention, because those type of behaviors can come back, you know, to haunt you as a parent. And so my question to you is, what do you feel like some long-term consequences are, or short-term, for bullies whose behavior goes unchecked?
They become adult bullies. They don't do well in social situations. They become people. They get in the criminal system because, you know, that's the way they know how to maneuver is to take, and so that's what they become, takers. And it's all about how to get something quickly in the most inefficient way. But like people who are bullies have no regard for other people's feelings. So when you take it into an adult, then you got somebody who can shoot somebody who don't care, somebody who can rob somebody who don't care, because they don't have any sense of, they have a disconnect between like what I do may affect how this person feels. Right. They don't care. They've been trained since they were a child that, you know, it don't matter how they feel. I'm gonna just keep doing what I'm doing. So now you have these criminals. That's what they ultimately end up being, is criminals as adults, because they went their entire life and it was unchecked.
Yeah, they become numb to it because
and it's their new norm.
Right. And for some of them, those that I've experienced through the years, they're always hiding something. It's a deficit that they're hiding. It's something that they don't like about themselves that they're hiding. It's like you said, you know, y'all. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get the jump on y'all. I don't have the shoes and the clothes y'all have. So before y'all pick at me, I'm gonna pick at you. I'm gonna use what I have. And what I have is I'm gonna be a bully. And I'm gonna pick at y'all. And y'all are not gonna mess with me about my shoes, about, you know, the way my hair look, because I don't have the resources at home to get my hair cut. My parents, you know, are not there, or whatever that's going on. And so that's how I see it. And it's unfortunate. And that's why I said, you know, we really need to look at the bullies in a deeper way to try to get them the help they need. And so what do you feel like parents, administrators, family members can do to support their children if they are bullies?
So the thing that's hard because a lot of kids who are bullies are raised in a different type of environment. So kids who are bullies live in environments that are just like, I don't want to say dysfunctional, but I'll just say for the lack of a better word, dysfunctional. They have parents who talk to them aggressively, parents who, you know, are abusive, parents who may be alcoholic. So they don't know how to cope. They have no control at home. Where can I get control? I'm gonna go to school. Now I got control over what I do at school and the people at school because I have no control at home. So it's such a bigger issue with kids who are bullies because 9 times out of 10, their home life is not in order. So the parents are not going to recognize that this is happening with their kid because they have so much other stuff going on in their lives that they're just maintaining and functioning. So they have completely missed the fact that their kid don't really have friends, don't socialize because they're the bullies, so nobody want to hang with them.
Right.
So kids who are bullies, it's hard to reach their parents. Not impossible, but difficult because that home situation plays a big part in how they go to school and behave.
True. So outside of a referral, outside of, you know, whatever the principal can put in place in the home or in the school to help that person that is bullying and see the impact of their behavior, is there anything else that the school can do? A program, something to take home, call a meeting, get the district involved to be able to highlight the behavior, but also still equip the kids. I'm trying to figure out how can we as a community and a school do better with this bullying, like you said, that's causing people to commit suicide. How can we get in earlier to provide some outlets that are positive to get things going in a different direction?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. It's like if I had my way, like therapy would be a class that people take.
Come on now.
I mean, really, because if you're mentally in check, then you do well academically, you do well in athletics, and it's just like people miss that part of it. So in the big scheme of things, I understand that school is a structure and they have to meet certain grades. They have to get certain fundings. They have to score these on tests. So everybody's driven by different things. So the kids are getting missed because we are in a numbers game. We need to get X amount of money for the school. So we need to have this many kids to attend school. We don't care how they attend school. We just need them to attend school.
Wow.
You know, we need to get this score so we can get this money. So we're going to focus on academics. Forget that this child who was once a straight A student is now failing. Nobody's looking at that. Oh, well, let's go ahead and put the child at this school because they're making our numbers get low. So it's like we have to, and I said it before, we have to literally take a second and just stop. We need to just stop and look at what we're doing and what we're not doing. And we need to have, when we put a policy in place, what we're doing now as a society, policies are in place for the sake of saying we have a policy, not that we are actually have a way to follow through with this policy.
Right.
That and our kids are suffering every day. I don't understand how bullying is a zero tolerance, but kids come to my office every day who struggle with being bullied. I've told the teacher, I'm having to reach out to the teacher. I'm reaching out to the school counselors to say, hey, you know, we have a mutual person. They said they've come to you. Like, what is the what is the plan? Yeah. You know, and then it's like nobody wants to call you back. Nobody wants to deal with it. But we talk about people getting in trouble and you going to the board of education. Now we want to have a conversation. Right. But then the kid gets penalized. So the teachers start treating them different. They get isolated from their peers. So the person that's being bullied, they are the person who suffer the most, really, on every level, because they become the target.
Right.
Not the person who's doing it.
Listen, you listen. I'm gonna tell you something. You dropped another nugget. So I'm gonna ask you this question: home economics or therapy class? If you had a choice to pick, home economics.
Therapy class.
Listen, I'm telling you, I had another show and a nugget like that was dropped. I agree with you. I think therapy should be a class. You should have to go to a class.
Yep.
Man, Listen,
to learn how to deal with your emotion, learn how to deal with your dysfunctional family so you don't lose your mind. Understand what it is to be depressed versus being in a season of not getting what you want. Understand that life doesn't revolve around electronics. Understanding what self-worth is. Understanding that nobody's responsible for your happiness but you. You have to take control of that. There needs to be a class on that. Like they sent us out teaching us about history. That's all fine and well. Teaching me about algebra. That's great. As a therapist, I don't need to do algebra.
Come on.
It's not helping me. They don't teach life skills in school. They don't teach you what does credit mean, how to maintain credit, how to write a check. Miss Rogers, I will tell you, going in Miss Rogers taught me how to write a check. I can't speak for everybody else. Miss Rogers taught me how to write a check, and she taught me how to type on typewriter.
Come on. Yeah.
So it's just like, I think in school, they are missing the big scheme of it all because they are driven by numbers. They're not driven about quality outcome, is quantity.
Yeah. Wow. You just said, it looked like that struck a nerve with you. You went in right there. I mean, you hit it. You put the car in fifth gear and just started rolling. But I like that.
I'm on the side of having to try to get these children to understand why adults aren't doing their job. I'm teaching children how to be adults, to be passive and understand that although this is your mama, I'm gonna need you to understand this is the mama you want, but this is the mama you got. Let me help you process that. Wow. So it's like, that's passionate to me. It's because as a whole, we're failing our kids.
Yeah.
And so I am only one person. There's only so much I can do in this space. There's only so many people I can teach. There's only so many panels I can be on. But at what point do we say, let's get together and rally for our kids? Nobody's talking about that.
I'm with the cause, man. I'm with the cause.
I get that parents are in survival mode. They're trying to go to work, take care of these kids, and a lot of people, Josh, are just existing. They're not living.
They're not living. Surviving, not thriving. Just surviving.
That's it. So to have that conversation, have that conversation with them, it's like, girl, I got to pay my bills. I don't have time for that. So now I got to help you break down your trauma and your issues so you could be a better parent to your kids.
Yeah. So
it's a lot.
So, one thing I think about growing up, I feel like, in our culture, we had a bunch of alpha males. In the culture that I grew up in, a lot of personalities. And I believe that me having self-worth, me knowing who I was as an individual, as a person, what my values were, I was able to stand on that. And it was almost impossible to bully me because I know who I am. You can't come in and try to wolf me because it just don't work. I know who I am. How valuable is that to a young person to be secure in who they are, to know that you say my hair's not nappy. This is just the way I did it this morning. What are you talking about? Like, how big is that in a child's life to be able to hold up under the pressure of being bullied?
Everything. It's everything. The foundation that we lay for our kids is what they have to stand on. And if you don't have a foundation, then they ain't standing on nothing. They falling every time. Every time they stand up, they're falling because they don't have a foundation. So everything starts at home. So you have to instill that in your child that you are somebody, you are worthy. I have my kids repeat positive affirmations every day. We pray every morning before they get out the car. So and I teach them how to pray and love other people who don't have what they have, who don't look how they look, who are mean. So when you teach kids those things, when they get into those situations, they don't have anything else to fall back on other than what you have planted in them. But as parents, that don't make you a parent, mama, daddy, because you birthed the child. How you raise that child determines what type of parent you are.
Yeah.
So it's just like, you just can't just push them out and then go and let the world have. You got to teach these kids something.
Yeah. Now, as a therapist and a mother, do you feel like your parental style evolves or it stays the same?
Man, it changes. My daughter would tell me all the time, Mom, I think if you wasn't a therapist, you wouldn't be this strict with me and my phone and da 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 da. And I say, you know what? That may be the case, but I can't answer the question because all I know how to be is I'm a therapist. So this is the life you get. Yeah. So definitely being a therapist, my kids have other tools that kids don't have. And so one of my comebacks I teach my kids for people who say things to them, I have them say, I think you may need to go talk to somebody. You need to go to counseling. And it's just like that's one of the things I equip them with. And so my parenting style is different because I see kids come in here and I see what doesn't work. And I'm like, I see how parents give their kids electronics just to get them on, just go on. And I see how they're not monitoring them. My daughter told me, she said, my friends' parents don't monitor their phone. I said, well, I ain't your friend's parent.
Right.
I'm checking your phone. And I have kids that sitting here, parents crying. I checked her phone when she was in the hospital, and I saw that she had a plan 2 months ago to kill herself. But you behind the 8 ball, you just not checking her phone.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, but because of what I'm exposed to, that does heighten my senses when it comes to how I let my kids do stuff. Like my kids can't have social media. Period. While they in my house, like we ain't doing. Like most they can do is TikTok, and then now that's becoming a grown up thing. So, like, no.
Yeah. So, as a parent, would you prefer to chat or chasten? And when I say chat, I mean talk through situations with your children versus going straight to chastening. Which one would you?
Oh no, we talk. My kids, me and their dad was talking about it the other day. How we give them so much freedom to express themselves. Yeah. So when we come up with situations, like we talk through stuff, it's not do as I say, not as I do. No, I got to be a role model for you. So when I say you can't have something, my daughter knows how to come to me and negotiate. Okay, so you think I should change this rule? Let's talk about why. So you don't want this to be your consequence. Let's talk about why. So we talk through stuff, and it just gives them a better perspective on how to deal with conflict. Versus, you don't have to lie to me. You don't have to take things. You can really use your mouth to express yourself and get what you need. And so I want to talk. I want them to be able to talk and express.
Yeah, I like that.
Beating your kids ain't the answer to everything. You beat them, and what have you taught them?
Nothing.
Nothing. My mom never whooped me and talk to me while they beat me, and then beat me some more because I'm crying. What you crying for? What you crying for?
I whoop you because I love you. Oh, sure.
Right.
I felt all the love in that.
No.
So it sounds like your model of parenting is more like coaching, it's more like guiding, it's more like cultivating. And you're actually imparting skills that will prepare them for being an adult, that they can use as an adult, as a teenager. And, even what you were talking about with your daughter, it's almost like reflective statements. Like if the bullies say this, reflect this. It throws them off. And I think young people have to, begin to take their power back. Don't get their power away so easily. Especially if it's verbal. If it's verbal. Now, physical, that's different. But some of the verbal stuff, I think parents at home need to work with their children on how to take some of their power back, on how to stand firm, stand grounded, and who they are, know who they are. I tell my son all the time, this is who you are. It don't matter what they may say, but I'm reinforcing this is who you are. And you tell them that.
Right.
So, we're getting ready to end. But I want to ask you, because I know parents. I was talking to a parent the other day whose son was being bullied just because he wore a certain type of mask to school, and the kids start bullying him about, he had like a Toy Story or something on his mask, just being a kid. So what would you say to the parent if you can give them one tool that can make tomorrow better for their child? What would you say to them?
I would tell them to instill self-love in their kids, but to love on their kids. I think that as parents, we get so focused in parenting mode, we forget about the loving part, like hugging your kids, randomly saying, I love you. This is, who I think you're going to become, pouring words into them.
Yeah.
I think that as parents, when you fill your kids up with certain things, that leaves little room for other things.
Come on now.
So that's what I would tell a parent. You need to start having these conversations, being loving with your kids. So when the world that owe them nothing hits them with everything, you've instilled them with the minimal that will take them as far they need to go.
Wow. You fortify them. When they leave the house, their cup is filled and almost running over.
Yes.
And so nothing.
I would tell parents, do not yell at your kids in the morning time. Do not whoop your kids in the morning time. Do not start their day off chaotic. If they did something, let it rest until you get home in the evening time, because how they start their day at home dictates how they have their day at school. Yeah. I could be so furious with my kids, but I will put on a smile. We're going to have a great day. I instill that in them. I'm not going to send them to school crying, upset over what? Because that's going to set the tone for their day. They're not going to be able to cope with that person who comes to them with something crazy. They're going to fall into it because they already came to school to show.
Right.
So it's like, that's one thing I would tell parents too. How you send your kids to school, like the conversations you have to them before they get on that bus or get out your car, that is going to be the thing that's going to really get them through the day.
Yeah. How important is it if a child has experienced bullying, how important is it for them to get them in counseling?
It's imperative, because if the parent don't have the tools to teach the kid how to defend themselves, then they need to take them somebody who does. And what I would tell parents about therapy, they may go to one person and it don't work out and then they abandon it. Mm-hmm. Every therapist is not for everybody. And I tell people who come to see me for the first time, I want you to go home and you let this marinate in your spirit if you want to come back. I'm not going to be offended. I want you to go get the help that you need. Right. But I'm not for everybody. And I understand that. So when you go and you find a therapist, it's an interviewing process. You have to be with somebody who you feel comfortable with, who you gravitate to. So that's the same for your kid. You don't just say, put your kid in therapy and don't know what's going on. For every parent that has a child in therapy, they need to be in therapy too.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yes. Especially for our culture, our community. We got so many things we need to go to therapy for, period. But dealing with that, we can't like make therapy be a sign of weakness. I think being able to be humble enough to go to therapy shows a lot of strength. And we want to model for our children, the best way we can. And I think that's a part of it. Just like you go to the doctor when your stomach hurt. If you got some emotional hurt, like it's deep, you need to go to the person that can help you in that area. And that is to the therapist.
Yes, somebody got to help them unpackage that. And I teach kids who come here that, you have it. You're special. You have your own personal dumping person. Things that you can't say to your parents, things that you think in your head that you think may be crazy. You can come to your own personal person and say whatever you want, and you in a safe, judgment-free zone. And they be like, I ain't think about it like that. I said, yeah, you got your own dumping person, so let's do it.
I like it. You got a fellow yellow jacket in the comments, old Benny Nevis.
Slick. All right, Slick.
The Slick Fuller, Benny the Boom. But you said something powerful, and I want to encourage all parents. If your child is going through emotional like that, get them in the therapy so they can get the tools and the equipment that they need to be able to go to school and be able to combat what is coming at them, while you as a parent is dealing with the administration, dealing with the teachers. But we still need to get the young people some tools in their bag. Now, what would you say to the bully? And we got to close. If you had to say something to a bully, what would you say to the bully?
I would say to somebody who is a bully that you're not in this by yourself, that somebody loves you too, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I would say it to them because they need more words of affirmation and encouragement than anybody.
Yeah. And I've seen people who were not bullied into being bullies because they were bullied so bad. So that's the only thing that they knew is to just start bullying back.
It's a cycle. It's just like abuse. People look at people who abuse other people and they just try to just beat them down. Oh, that's so wrong. No, they're in the cycle. If they are an abuser, 9 times out of 10, they were abused. Yeah. And so people who are bullies, 9 times out of 10, at some point, they may have been bullied.
Right.
So it's a cycle. We have to break the cycle. We're not asking enough questions. We see the behavior, but we're not looking past the behavior to find out, how did we get here?
Right. Yeah. And that's what we got to do better in the school. When the administrators are dealing with the bullies, we got to find the root, and then we got to replace it with a better fruit and a better outcome. And parents, it's like you said, parents, be careful because you can bully your child. The way you interact with them, the way you communicate with them. We have to be careful, and we have to look at ourselves and everything we do before our children to make sure that we're not showing and reflecting bully type behavior towards them to make them go communicate that at school with others. We don't want that.
That's what they're gonna do.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what
kids mimic, and I'm gonna let you go. I do play therapy. And it's like, what does a 3-year-old do in therapy? You'll be amazed. A 3-year-old would show me everything they had what happened in their day through their play. They would take the baby doll, beat the baby doll. They'll take a ruler and start pointing at the board. That shows me this is how their teacher interact with them. This is how their mama interact with them. So this is how they come and play. So if they playing in the playroom like this with my toys, they playing in the playroom with the kids like this. So parents, be mindful of how you interact around your kids because they will model your behavior.
Wow. Yeah. Well, listen, man, I know we only did 30 minutes today. This was great dialogue, great information. I think we dropped some nuggets for parents, for professionals to glean to go back and start having conversations in their community. But again, where are you located and how can people get in touch with you if they want to, come check you out?
We are located in Birmingham and in Montgomery. We are doing virtual counseling. So if anybody wants any information about RCS, you can go to info@rcsbham.com.
Perfect. Well, again, Monique, it was good chatting with you. Thank you for
this has been great. You got me fired up.
I know. You like, man, I got the end of the day brain, but it sure didn't seem like it. So thank you for catching that spark. I'm sure everybody that'll watch the replay, everybody that was tuned in, will be able to take some back to their locality and do something great with it. So again, thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, Josh. I mean, the work you're doing, boots on the ground. I mean, my heart. I mean, you touch my heart because we in this together. Like we gotta be a united front for our kids.
Yeah. And we gotta take some back and do something for the home team one day. Because they've been going through a lot of tragic experiences down that way with things that we would never even fathom that would happen in our community growing up. And so hopefully one day we can all get together and go do something and give back to them with the love that community raised us. It raised us. And so we don't want to ever forget about them. But again, thank you. Be safe. Continue to do what you do. And we'll see you soon, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. Good night.